and I'm so glad you stopped by. So today I'm gonna make a blanket ladder. Now I've seen these a lot on YouTube, Pinterest, and got some really great ideas, and so I figured I'd give it a try myself. So what I did is I went to Home Depot and I got some 2x2s, furring 2x2 lumber, and I got 3 8-foot. I cut it down to 6.5 feet because I have such tall ceilings and I've seen a variety of different lengths, and so you want to customize it to whatever height of wherever you're putting it, to your home. And so I have very tall ceilings in where I'm going to put this, so I figured that 6.5 feet would be the best. Now I also have these rungs that I've cut down to 17 inches long, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a really good sand. I got 80 grit sandpaper that I'm going to get it really nice and get, some of this is really rough. Now I did have a hard time finding things that were going to be straight, so you're really going to have to search through the wood and find something that is straight and doesn't have a lot of holes. Now I did find some of these holes, but I'm going to make it work, as well as some of them were cracked, so you really have to go through the wood and check it out. Then after I'm done with the 80 grit, I'm going to go and do it with the 220. So let's get sanding. So I went ahead and sanded 80 grit and then 220. They're perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and stain them. I got this weathered grade. Figured I want to go with the gray for this ladder. You can choose whatever stain that you like that matches your home. And then I'm going to give it a coat and go ahead and wipe it off with this rag. Now what I did after I sanded it, before I put the stain on, is wiped it down to get all the dust off, to get it nice and dust free. You want to make sure that you stir your stain really, really good. It is gorgeous, gorgeous out here. The sun is nice and bright. It's a tiny bit of a breeze. It's a perfect day to be working outside. All right, so I'm just using a foam brush. So this one is tied on too long. So what I'm going to have to do is individually do it because I like this one better. Show you what I did. Just give me a little angle here. Ignore this line. I was trying something else that didn't work. So again, I called my dad because my dad is brilliant. Okay, so you see the angle real quick. So on my chop saw, I know that there's different variety of different brands and different things. I turned my chop saw at an angle this way at 15 degrees. Now what I did is I had a practice piece that I practiced on until I got the angle that I wanted. So again, see, it's just a very, very slight angle. So that's going to be the bottom. That's going to be the bottom, and I'm going to leave the top just square. So as you can see, my blade is at a very slight angle. Now you can adjust this to whatever you want. I got some knots here that I want in the back, and so what I did is I lined up the bottom piece just slightly on the inside of my guide here, and so when I put it down, it'll make it so that it's straight, and I'm not going to cut off too much. And there is how you do an angle. It's the first time for me. All right, so I took a break from my project outside, and I'm just waiting for the wood to dry, and I came in and I saw my chef James here getting ready for something. What are you getting ready for, babe?
Well, I got invited to do two segments on Good Day Sacramento.
Oh, yeah?
We're making do like a bully beef, they call that corned beef, bully beef. It's a dish with the cabbage and so on.
Cool.
And I'm also doing a dessert. So right now I'm practicing because you only have a certain amount of time to do everything.
Right.
They're going to be asking you questions, and I want to at least look like I know what I'm doing. So this is, you've seen the behind the scenes, the practicing and trying to get everything calculated.
And maybe we'll be able to taste test it, huh?
Maybe.
Okay. All right. I will be sure to link his Good Day Sacramento below, but it will be, next week because he will be on there Monday the 15th. So check out that link. I came inside because it started to get really cold outside. The wind picked up, so I moved everything into my very disorganized, messy garage. So that may be a project that I might do in the next couple weeks as it warms up. So I'm going to go ahead and start screwing the rungs on my post. And I went ahead and did this one first because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I went 6 inches from the top, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, and I'm going to pre-drill my holes. So I'm going to measure from the bottom of this first one 12 inches 12 inches to the bottom of the second one, and I'm going to go to each one until the very bottom, just so that I know exactly where that it's all going to fall in the right place. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of eyeball it for now and make sure that it is going to work for what I want to do. And again, this is all preference. You don't have to do this exact. If you want yours having less the rungs, then you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is going to work out fine. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill all my holes, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my screws. I went ahead with wood screws, size 8 and 3 inches, because I really wanted them to be in there secure, even though nobody's going to climb on it. It's just for blankets. But I have boys, you never know what they're going to decide to do. So let's get this measured and get this put together. You want to put 2 holes. If you just put one in the center, it'll rotate. The rung will rotate, so you want to make sure that you have 2 nails. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, and that'll show you exactly how I'm screwing them in. So as you can see, I went kind of at an angle. So I pre-drilled, and I'm going to countersink them in because I want to be able to cover them up and paint over them. And basically, I decided to stain it first because I thought it'd be easier than to stain after. So this I'll just kind of touch up. On one side it won't matter because it's on the against the wall. So this is 12 inches from the bottom of this one to the bottom of this one. And alright, so I went ahead and I thought it'd be easier if I flip it upside down and go from the top. I'm gonna get the rest of my holes drilled, then show you the finished product. All right, I've got this side done, and then I'm gonna start on this side. You want to make sure that your angle on the end is going the same way, because you'd be pretty sad if it was. So mine mine is going the right way, but I'm gonna go ahead and tilt it this way so I can do my pre-drills on this side. So I've got it 6 inches, and I'm gonna make an X on that side and an X on this side. I'm gonna get my first screw started, just get it in here. That way it just makes it easier. Together, and when I stood up, I noticed that one of my rungs were a little bit crooked, but for my first one, it's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use this wood filler and fill up all the screw holes on the edges, and then touch it up with my stain, and it should be almost done. Also, when I was screwing it in, I made a really big gash here. It was going in crooked, so I completely just took it out. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. It is the front, so it will be noticeable. So I'm going to go ahead and try to fix that. Alright, so it got a little dark in the garage, so I just moved everything inside. Again, this shelf is very crooked. I could probably unscrew it and fix it, but at this point I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave it and just hang over a blanket, and you won't even be able to tell. So I went ahead and I distressed it with my sandpaper. I used the 220 grit sandpaper, and I like how it I scuffed up the corners, and I liked how that looks. But I want to add a little bit more. So I'm gonna take this Waverly plaster, and I put it in my little container, and I water it. I put a tiny bit of water. It's just, I don't know if you can really see it. It's just dripping. And I'm gonna just kind of brush it on there, and then I have a wet paper towel, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try it on the back before I get too excited, because if I don't like it, I don't want to mess up the front. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip it around and see. Oh, before I forget, I went ahead and I filled in the holes with some wood filler to cover it up, and I gave it a good sand. And so I'm kind of happy with how that turned out. All right, let's see if this technique, this kind of whitewash, my brush is kind of heavy with paint. That technique I wasn't happy with. So what I'm going to do is I went ahead and washed my brush. I'm going to just dip it into the paint directly, and I have, so it's a little thicker, I have paper towel, and I'll just wipe it off and see what it looks like. So the brush has to be really, really, basically have barely no paint on it, and then I'm just going to do the side and then gently take it off. It has some paint on it. Okay. All right, let's flip it back. finished product. I'm so thrilled at how it turned out. I love the natural wood coming through as well as the white paint, making the distressed farmhouse look. And I just want to say thank you for all your support. I really appreciate each one of you coming and checking out my channel as well as subscribing. And if you're new, thank you again for joining. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you in our next video. Bye-bye.